know, at commencement time, very often you hear people talk about, congratulating you for concluding at least this phase of your study and then moving out into the real world. This is a notion that we reject here at McNally Smith because something we've tried very hard to do is from the very moment these students and all of our students enter this college, we try to provide real-world experiences for you right from the beginning. And I think in many respects we succeed, you succeed. I have to say personally, this is a really bittersweet day for me, and I hope, I believe, I know to be true for a lot of you. This is a class, it's the largest class we have graduated, and it is a class that contains so many people that means so much to this community that it's really going to be very hard to say goodbye, even if it's only temporary, and we know you'll be friends and colleagues forever. But there's such a wonderful class here, and I hate to even mention any names because I could mention every name, and in fact, soon we will mention every name. But I've seen Alec Kozak, who you just heard Alex playing the guitar, performing in so many high-level professional gigs that you'd think he's already a young professional, and you'd be right. I have had the great pleasure of singing myself with Cara Loudon at a fundraising event that raised over $2,000 for the McNally Smith Foundation. I've seen our string players, Greg and Rebecca and Allison, playing with their fantastic teacher, Randy Sabine, who's had them on stage all over the country already. So I think you get the idea. We have very much our goal is to prepare students to make a life in music, and it starts from the day you walk in the door. The main message that I want to talk to you about today in this charge to the class is to emphasize the importance of you being clear on what you want and making sure that you think about that in advance and not move randomly through your life, but that you know what you want and you go out to get it. You've already made a great start by choosing to pursue your passion. Never in my career have I found college graduates in a school of music here because their parents made them come. No, you can't go major in business, honey. That would be a lousy choice. You need to be a musician. That's a secure career. Let's do that. It does not happen that way. You're here because you love, you're passionate about music, or some aspect of the music business or the recording of musicians, writing songs, and you've already made that choice. Knowing what your goals are, setting them and pursuing them with flexible mind and with awareness is the most important message that I can give you. About, 20 years ago or so, I had been in a long phase in my musical career of being focused primarily on classical music. Played classical guitar. We have a young singer here. Excellent. And in composition, but I'd grown up as a rock player and blues player, and I was lured back into playing in a blues band back in Boston. How many of you have heard of the band J. Giles? J. Giles, big band. Some of you perhaps not as much. They haven't concertized so much in the last, 15 or 20 years. But in Boston, they were a huge band. They toured the world with the Rolling Stones a number of times. They still have many platinum records. They were very successful. And I had the opportunity to join a blues band that the bass player was Danny Klein. And Danny Klein was the bass player from the J. Giles band and a certified rock star. And I thought, okay, this will be cool. I'll play with this band. And it was very cool. It was great fun. We didn't play too many gigs, but we'd, a couple of times a month, and I just had a great time. I was the lead guitar player, lead singer, having a wonderful time with this. And Danny was a great guy, very fun to work with. But one night he came up to me after the gig, He said, man, you know, your guitar playing, you sound great. You sound really cool, but you play a different solo on the tune every night. And I say, well, yeah. I mean, I'm an improviser. I'm just making this stuff up. It's fun. He says, well, that's not how it's done. I said, I didn't know what he was talking about. He said, well, no, really, when Jay Giles, who was the guitar player in that band, said he played the same solo every night, and when he'd start his second chorus, I knew exactly what he was going to do, and I would kick the bass line up a notch, up an octave. Seth, the keyboard player, would drop down an octave. We would expand the range, and we knew exactly what everybody was going to do, and here was his key line. That's how you whip a crowd into a frenzy. I thought, wow. And I thought about that for a long time. So I've really learned something. They had a goal. And really, trust me, nobody could whip a crowd into a frenzy like the Jay Giles band. I mean, they were just insane that way. They were a huge success. And I thought, wow, okay, that's something to know. You choreograph this, everybody knows what's going on. Bing, there you go. And I thought about it. And then I thought about it a little more and said, but you know what? I mean, I'm 45 years old. I'm just having a great time. I got a day gig. I like to improvise. I don't want to play the same solo every night. That's not interesting to me. So even though this guy was a rock star and a great guy and he knew how to do the rock star thing, I thought it actually doesn't really fit my goals. It fit his goals when they were trying to succeed and make money, and they did. And so it was the right choice for him and the band. It was not the right choice for me. Knowing what your goals are and making the right choices for what your goals are, not somebody else's, is key. And it's easy to be influenced by people that around you that you respect and admire, but it doesn't mean their goals are right for you. Edgar Allan Poe, who's, of course, one of the great writers in American literature and wrote fabulous short stories, wrote an essay called The Philosophy of Composition. And in this essay, he spoke about how he created his short stories. He said, first of all, you decide on the effect you want to create. Often with Poe, it was an atmosphere of fear or death or doom or something, you know. So what's the effect you want to create? And then you decide what is the tone and what are the incidents that are going to lead towards that. And then, of course, what are the dramatic moments? What's the story going to be, so to speak? But then he said the first thing he does after that is he writes the ending of the story. Because then everything that develops from the beginning is leading inexorably to that moment of climax, and everything is working to enhance the climax. Another example of knowing a goal, which can then help to inform the choices you make and make sure that everything is moving in the direction that you want it to go. The most important lesson I ever learned about practicing an instrument was to make sure that every time I sat down, I had specific goals. You know, sometimes the goal was just simply to sit, pick up the guitar and play and have fun, and that's fine. We want, you know, to just enjoy it. But if I had a concert to prepare, or I had to play a piece with somebody else, I mean, I had the goal of learning that piece. And so I would never sit down for efficient practice and just start playing the piece at the beginning and play it through 3 or 4 times. It can be fun, but it's kind of a waste of time. You keep practicing the same mistakes. I mean, I would go to where the problems were. Where are the issues? What do I need to work on? And then you focus your practice. You have goals for what you're trying to do in this moment, and it made all the difference in the world. When you're working toward goals, you need persistence, discipline, focus, energy. But that's not enough either. You also need to be aware of change, and you need to be alert to what's changing around you, and you need to be able to adapt. Charles Darwin said, "It's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor is it the most intelligent. It's the one that is the most adaptable to change." When Jack McNally and Doug Smith started a music teaching institution 26, 27 years ago now, it was a guitar studio. These are two guitar players. Watch out for guitar players. You never tell what's going to happen. They started, a guitar studio teaching guitar lessons. They got a lot of students coming in. The next thing you know, said, maybe if we added a bass teacher and a drum teacher, we could have even more business, and we'll turn this into a real growing concern. And they did, and they got some voice teachers and more guitar teachers and more teachers, and it grew. And they, what if we added some kind of theory classes and maybe even a diploma program or something? And it grew, and they were aware of the changing circumstances. The point was, they did not start 27 years ago and say, hey, let's start McNally Smith College of Music. That's something that developed along the way because they were disciplined, they were focused, they were creative, they were passionate, but they were also paying attention and finding opportunities and modifying their path as circumstances changed. In fact, this would probably be a pretty good time for me to introduce to you the two gentlemen about whom it can definitely be said, without them, none of us would be here today. Please recognize the talent and the accomplishments and the vision of Jack McNally and Doug Smith. The director of our Career Center, David Lewis, uses a phrase every now and then that I really love. He just looks around at all that's going on here and says, this is McNally Smith College of Doing. Everybody is busy. Everybody is doing stuff. We don't just talk about the business of music, writing it, performing it, producing it, recording it. We're doing it every day. And nobody does it better than our wonderfully talented faculty. Without a doubt, this is the most wonderful collection of caring, dedicated, and talented and accomplished artist educators that I've ever had the pleasure of working with. So please join with me now in recognizing and thanking the amazing faculty of McNally Smith College of Music. And they're a good-looking group, too, aren't they? Just handsome and lovely. Wonderful. Now, in a few moments, you guys will be college graduates, but you're not unprepared and you're not on your own. Since day one, we've tried to create an environment that provides substantive experiences for you that eliminate the separation of college from the real world, so-called. You've built a network of friends and allies that will be with you always, helping and encouraging and caring about you. This is an important recognition today of your accomplishments, but it's not goodbye. We wish you every success and happiness you seek, and know that you will always be a part of our community of artists, educators, and friends at your alma mater, McNally Smith College of Music. Thank you all. And now it's my great pleasure to welcome and introduce to you first of our two fantastic student speakers who embody exactly what I've been talking about. I'm not going to read to you the biography of either of these people, but I will just tell you everything you've read here about Lauren is true. For several years, I thought she must have a twin sister, at least one, maybe they were triplets, because she was doing so many things, was so omnipresent in the college, in the community, accomplishing wonderful things as a student, as a young professional, as a caring volunteer in community activities. So please welcome and listen to the words very closely of Lauren McNally. Thank you.
Not supposed to miss the microphone. Okay. Well, thank you, Harry. And thank you all for letting me speak today. I can't tell you what an honor it is. To start, and in an effort to be completely honest, I am terrified. You see, thank you. And in a class presentation about a few weeks ago, I almost passed out, like literally. So when I received the nomination to speak, I quickly wrote N-O. There was no way I was going to do this. But I started to think about why I didn't want to do it. And the only reason I can think of was fear. So despite this fear, I said yes, clearly. If you're anything like me, you might be a little afraid of what comes next after leaving here. You might have plans that you're excited about, or plans that are just temporary, just allowing you to get by. You're thinking, what do I really want to do? Or where do I go from here? If you're asking yourself these questions, believe me, I'm the last one to speak advice from. I am, however, the one chosen to give this speech, so I thought I should try to impart some knowledge on you. And I went to the one place that always has the answers. That's right, Google. I typed fear in the search bar, and the first thing that shows up, of course, is Wikipedia's definition that states, fear is an emotion induced by a perceived threat which causes entities to quickly pull away and usually hide. My challenge to you is to find something in your career or something in your life that you've always wanted to do and go out and do it. Do something outside your comfort zone and, might even terrify you, and just do it. This could be a variety of things. Maybe it's moving. Maybe it's meeting new people. Maybe it's talking in front of a few people. The list goes on. At the end of the day, when obstacles appear in your way, it'll be the work that you're proud of and that keeps you going. My hope for you is that your pieces of creativity fuel your desires and keep you going. After all, what makes a good story in the first place is the time it takes to create it and then edit it, all the while being able to share it with family and friends who support you. Today, I'm very excited to have Kickstarter's co-founder here, Yancey Strickler, for the keynote speech because it's organizations like Kickstarter that help artists put ideas into action. An example is Amanda Palmer, who is well known for reaching almost $1.2 million in Kickstarter and having close interactions with her fans, often tweeting them for assistance while on the road for things like food, a place to stay, a piano to practice on, and more. In return for their help, all of her music is free. But before she was able to play for her band Dresden Dolls, she described how she maintained life as a living statue called the 8-Foot Bride. She recalls how people in her cars would pass by and say things like, "Get a job!" And she could only think to herself, well, this is my job. But in that moment, she said she was very, very distraught that, these people were right. Maybe this was unjob-like, something shameful. It provided her with an experience and motivation she needed to continue to pursue her music career, though, she said later. Make good mistakes. I know what you're probably thinking. How can there be any good mistakes, right? Well, before I came to McNally, I went to 2 other schools as a math major. I spent my days frustrated, a little angry, and completely bored in hours of math learning something I have no idea what. I think deep down, I knew what I wanted to do was music, but I was terrified of turning this hobby into a career. When my friend had finally convinced me that I needed to do music, I came to McNally and realized that this was my home. Without going to those other schools and doing what I thought would be acceptable to others, I didn't think I would ever appreciate the things I got to do and learn here. I needed to experience the mistake in order to learn what was right for me. But more importantly, what I realized from this experience is that if you're making mistakes, you are actually doing something to succeed. For those of you that are still with me, and for those of you that aren't, the bottom line is to be true to your art, and your work will pull you through anything. But I do believe that if you keep going along the way, face some fears, be patient, continue to put out work that you're proud of, and make mistakes. And if anyone doubts you or tells you, get a real job, prove them wrong, because nothing can replace your passion. I thought the best way to leave you today was with a quote from novelist Barbara Kingslover. She said, "The very least you can do in your life is figure out what you hope for. The most you can do is live inside that hope, running down its hallways, touching the walls on both sides." Thank you.
Thanks very much, Lauren, and thanks for your honesty in sharing the fact that she was terrified and then giving a very important message, which, courage is not being free of fear. It's about standing up here and giving a beautiful speech when you're actually terrified. And you'll probably have plenty of opportunities in your lives to emulate this model, so thanks very much. Once again, I'm not going to read to you about our next speaker, but I will just share a couple of personal impressions. Adam Conrad, I've seen also all over the campus and in the community as a very fine young conductor and composer and arranger of music. He most notably conducts a very ambitious and unusual ensemble called Improvistra, which is an orchestra. That's right, Improvistra, there they are, some of them over there. It's an orchestra made up of great students, great professionals in the community. It's a complete mix, and they don't play the Beethoven symphonies or Mozart. They improvise music on the spot under the direction and leadership of Adam Conrad. So now let's hear from young Mr. Conrad, of whom we're very proud.
I sort of empathize with Lauren. It's pretty scary being up here. I told Lauren I would cry because it would make her feel better. So I would. I want to start off by saying thank you to some people who make this situation real possible. Joel Cooper. Man, I just can't hold it in, I tell you. Todd Smith, Ryan. Whew. Okay. I get it out. I'm going to teach you guys a saying that this is a kind of cliche, but it's a saying that my dad said growing up to me, and I believe it wholeheartedly. So I'm going to teach you guys a little saying. My dad said that to be successful in life, that you need the 3 keys to success. Okay, the 3 keys to success are vision, dedication, and perseverance. Okay, so when I say 3 keys, you guys repeat back to me. Vision, dedication, perseverance. One more time. 3 keys: vision, dedication, perseverance. Now, first we have to define what success is if we want this to have any meaning. My friend David Sutton David has the most beautiful violins, and a lot of people will tell you that this is a measure of success. But that's not what makes him successful to me. What makes David so successful to me is that he's a musician, artist, and student that I want to be around. He makes me feel special when I'm around him. He makes people feel special. When he finds the perfect sound for their project, he makes the audience feel special when he plays those beautiful colors on any instrument he touches. He's a friend that cares about what you're actually doing when he asks. 3 keys to success: vision, dedication, perseverance. Take David Lewis, Tom Loftus, Billy Schoenberg, Joel Cooper, Carl Loudon, Todd Smith, Jay Fuchs. Any of these people make you feel like you're in this tough world with a friend. They make you feel like you can ask them any question and you're going to get honesty, but also an answer that comes from experience, because these people have tried things. They've gone through trial and error. They don't give up. They continue to look for and find success in every aspect of their lives. 3 keys: vision, dedication, perseverance. Vision. Well, when I was a boy, it was easy for me to envision what I wanted to do or where I wanted to go or how I wanted to spend my time. It's like, Dad, I'm going to go down to the park, I'm going to catch a pigeon, and I'm going to put it around, I'm going to tie it to a string, and I'm going to walk it around, I'm going to name him Carl, and that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm doing today. You know, my dad's like, all right. Take a shower. But for some, it's not that easy, right? For some of them, they're more intuitive. They don't know what they want, but when it's in front of them, they know for sure that it's right. For those of you who empathize with that mentality, work towards visualizing yourself in a different situation every day, in a large house with lots of loved ones around you. Visualize making the perfect transition from verse to chorus while you sit in your chair with your favorite candle on your piano and the lights dim just to the way you like it. See yourself holding a 9-month-old hand when he takes his first step, and realize that he is your son. 3 keys: vision, dedication, perseverance. Don't laugh at me, Skylar. I see you right there, right in front of me, laughing at me. Great playing the other day, by the way, man. If you guys haven't heard Skylar play the drums, listen to Skylar play the drums. See yourself holding your wife's hand right before you take your last breath, sitting in your favorite chair with your butt crease in it, just the way you like it. And looking into her eyes and knowing that every second of the last 80 years was worth it, just for that last look. Dedication. I've always dedicated myself to almost anything I can get my hands on. It's a blessing and a curse, trust me. When I was like 9 years old, I used to go out on recess and collect spiders and put them in my backpack. My mom would open them up when I got home. Spiders would just crawl out. I was like, Mom, this is what I'm into, man. I like spiders. And they need to be in my backpack. It's true. I mean, you just don't know these things until you've tried, right? Maria, man. Maria, you can make me laugh anytime. Dedication is just about getting excited about something. Everyone in this room is an artist, and I know can get excited and is passionate about whatever they're doing. It's easy for most of you, right? But no one can top my best friend and partner, Ben Kelly, in this department. I knew I shouldn't have put him in my speech. Damn it! He will out-excite you about anything. Coffee, school, spiral-bound notebooks. Ben works the sanitation department every year for the state fair. It's about 16 days straight of 16 hours a day, and he's just picking up vomit and feces and just all the worst things you can possibly think of. And he comes back from this, and He comes up to me and he's like, "Oh man, it's the greatest. You're going to war with the guy next to you. You know, you're just like, trash. I'm on the bathrooms. Like, let's do this." And by the end of it, I'm like, yeah. Let's go pick up some crap, right? Let's just go do it. It's the best. He can get you into anything. But that's what it takes to be dedicated. You find the best in every situation and hold on to it like it's your life vest in a tsunami, because it is. That kind of positivity can only bring you higher and get you closer to the things that you want out of life, even if all you want is to be happy. Happiness is a choice. Don't forget that. 3 keys to success: vision, dedication, perseverance. There's no denying it. Perseverance is the hardest of the 3. Always was for me, and I know it is for David, for anyone else. To persevere is to meet challenges head on, to outsmart them, to drag yourself through waist-high snow just to get the garbage out on time. And the whole time your mind's going, what am I doing? I could just stockpile this stuff in the mud room till spring. It's fine. Nothing is more difficult than seeing something all the way through. Nothing. And I'm certainly not the best at it, but I work through it every day. 3 keys: vision, dedication, perseverance. Many of you know my old roommate, Michael Holloway. He's a good friend of mine, one of my closest friends at McNally. Right? He's off getting his master's in composition at Yale. He's like 14 or something. He's the best at persevering. He would stay up all night finishing a project that, just making sure his project was the best just so he could spend time with friends and family. I would wait till the last second just trying to organize my thoughts, and then it would just explode out of me in like a fit of, I don't know. Forgetful passion is what I wrote. Not Mike. Mike has the unique ability to stay awake and look weeks into the future and work diligently on something until it is sculpted just to his liking. Now, I've obviously learned better how to do that and to plan accordingly, but there's something amazing about learning to persevere through difficulties in a timely manner. I think we get better at persevering as we get older, and I don't think it's a secret to it. There are no mind games or tricks, but just how you look at the situation. It's not easy. It's very hard. Very, very hard. But that's what makes it so rewarding. Perseverance is looking up the guidelines to Linda Hakialate's Western art essays right before you think you're done, just to check the formatting. Make sure that you got all your sizes. You know. I know all of you have done those essays, and they're not easy. Persevering is going to your girlfriend's house early the next morning after a fight and making her breakfast and telling her you didn't really say the right thing last night. But it's okay because you're here and you're willing to try and make it better. You want to know? You want to know the way she was thinking because she's a beautiful and wonderful creature that deserves as many opportunities as you do. 3 keys: vision, dedication. Perseverance is calling your mom 3 times a week just to tell her you love her because even though you're busy, you know it'll make her day. 3 keys: vision, dedication, perseverance. Perseverance is writing to your great uncle for a thank you card to your great uncle after he gave you $100 for your birthday, even though you can't figure out exactly which side he's from. But it's more than that. It's calling him and asking him how it's been since his wife passed 3 weeks ago. Asking him. It's asking him to tell you a story about his past. Persevering is staying up till 2 in the morning, planning out the best Kickstarter people have ever seen, so you can stay up till 4 every night for the next 2 months, planning and writing a theater show with your best friend, and then getting up at 7 the next day to do it all over again. 3 keys to success.
Vision, dedication, perseverance.
Show this world what success looks like.
And I would add to that, perseverance is delivering such words of love and warmth and wisdom in what is one of the most emotional moments of your life. And I thank you, Adam, for your honesty and for sharing all that you just shared with us. It was very beautiful. And Lauren, thanks again. And parents, you can see why we work, all of us here, all of us there, in pretty much the coolest place in the universe. This is just, it's just a great place to be surrounded by such talent and creativity and passion and honesty. And now you're going to see another reason why this is the coolest place in the universe to work. I'll say no more about it. I'll let the contemporary vocal ensemble sing for themselves under the direction of Jennifer Parker.
Sometimes when we're young, we often say to ourselves, man, when I get older, I'm gonna do this. And man, when I get older, I'm gonna do that. But it's ironic that when we get older, we look back on those childhood days and we realize, man, time just flew by. And the song Circle Game, written by Joni Mitchell, paints a beautiful picture of just how fast time goes by and just how quickly the moments that we share with people just seem to whiz by. And I hope that you guys just listen to the words of this song and just enjoy this moment. So without further ado, here is Circle Game.
Yesterday, a child came out to wander, caught a dragonfly in a jar, fearful when the sky was full of thunder. So thought the falling of a star. Then the child moved 10 times round the season, skating over 10 clear frozen streams. Words like when you're older must appease him, and the promises of someday make his dreams. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive in a carousel of time. The carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came, and go round and round and round in a circle game. 16 springs and 16 summers gone now. Cartwheels turn to car wheels through the town, and you tell him, take your time, it won't be long now, till you drag your feet too slow, the circles down. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on a carousel of time. The carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came, and go round and round and round in a circle game. Oh, the years went by and now the boy is 20. dreams, maybe better dreams and plenty. Before the last revolving year is through, right away, away, and the seasons they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on a carousel of time. The carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came, and go round and round and round in the circle game. Ladder way, oh, way, do, oh.
You know, another thing that happens often at commencements is the college or university finds the most distinguished person they can to come and address, be a special communication to the college. And very often, these people are of international renown, TV stars, politicians, artists, composers, often looking back on their careers, having achieved high esteem and acclaim over many decades. And this is a wonderful and rich tradition. But it's not really the tradition that we're creating at McNally Smith. We're a young college, and we are a forward-looking college. We bring in guest artists and speakers and commencement speakers. We try to identify the people that, with all due respect, and I mean this sincerely, are not here to talk about their lives and their lessons and their successes and the past. We are very interested in everything we do here for our students, and in even a moment like this, to talk about the future. And there's no one that we could have been happier to have come and speak to us today than Yancey Strickler. This is a young man who is already helped to change the face of the entertainment, the arts, and creative industry in the country today. And this is not an exaggeration. Yancey is one of the co-founders of Kickstarter, which I'm sure all of you know about, and maybe some of you know about, but perhaps not all of you do. It's a funding platform available online where creative individuals seek funding from the community of friends, relatives, interested people, fellow travelers. And in just a few years, they have funded everything from the development of films, games, music, art, design, technology. It's filled with ambitious, innovative, imaginative projects that are brought to life through the support of others. In 4 years, it has raised close to $600 million for over 38,000 independent musicians, filmmakers, and others, including a number of our students and graduates. I've kicked in myself. Oh, this sounds good. Here's $25, here's $50. Happy to help out. Great sounding project. And it's a brilliant idea. And again, you can read more details about Yancey. Once again, a guitar player. So, I'm just saying, and I'm a guitar player, so, you just watch out. But we're just so happy to have someone here who is so much a representative of the creative economy, which is what the future is about. Please welcome Yancey Strickler.
How's it going, everybody? Thank you for that very generous introduction, and to everyone for being so awesome. Thanks to faculty and staff, and Thanks to David Lewis for inviting me to come here and speak today, and nice to meet all you guys and all your families who are here. So as he said, my name is Yancey. That is my real name. I'm one of the founders of a site called Kickstarter. It's a site that helps people make music and movies and restaurants and games, or pretty much anything that you can imagine. Parents, maybe you've heard of Kickstarter from your son or daughter or niece or nephew doing a project. If you haven't yet, you probably will pretty soon. It's a new way for your kids to ask you for money, so you're welcome for that. Graduates, I just have to warn you, once your parents get onto Kickstarter to support you, pretty soon they'll be into 3D printers and weird art galleries in Duluth where everything is quilted, and strange Burning Man projects, and then pretty soon they'll dust off their high school poetry and publish a volume using Kickstarter. We should all hope so. But as Lauren said, I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, you're probably worried about what comes next, and there's a lot of great unknowns as you step out of here today, and those anxieties are real. But the one thing that I do know, and it's a kind of a surprising thing, but people are interested in helping other people make art. Even in this moment of economic calamity where we're all supposed to be saving our money for bread and gold and bullets, there's still 4 million people have pledged over $500 million to help other people make art during this time. This is an amazing thing. These are projects not from famous people. These are projects from our friends, from our neighbors, from our relatives, from people just like us. And collectively, together, we're all making these things. And so for those of you who are about to step out and you've taken this brave step of devoting your lives to being creative, to making things, this is really amazing. This is really exciting. But maybe we shouldn't be so surprised. Art has always been a part of civilization. It's always been a part of our culture. We're gifted with the ability to speak, and we have things that we want to say, and we want to say them a certain way. We want other people to hear them and understand them. And that's what art is. That's what it is to be an artist. At its core, that hasn't changed all that much. But obviously, a lot has changed. The internet's changed a lot. Geography is no longer a barrier. Distribution is no longer a barrier. Even language is much less of a barrier. You can have an idea, you can make it, you can put it online, and someone halfway around the world who you'll never meet can hear it. They can play with it. This is a crazy thing. It's hard for us to recognize it. It's hard to see the water that you swim in for what it is, but this is an unbelievable thing. But some parts of being a life of an artist haven't changed all that much. For one thing, artists still need money. You still need community. There's still a lot of things that have to be with you to create things. And we're sold this myth of the lone wolf artist, the person who sits in a castle all day examining like paint pigments and looking at camera lenses, and they just meditate. And then out of this comes this sacred practice of creating art. And it's hidden behind this wall, and it's very mysterious, and it's hard to relate to. But this is all a lie. This is not how it works. How it works is you create things with other people. You talk to your friends about your ideas. You see what other people think. And artists have always needed community. Artists have always needed money. You could argue that the very first Kickstarter project happened in 1715 when Alexander Pope decided he wanted to translate 16,000 lines of ancient Greek poetry into English. And he ended up doing this, and it was called the Iliad. You've probably heard of it. And to make the Iliad, he sought the support of 750 backers, people who would give him money so he could have the time to do this. And he promised them, quote, "The work shall be presented in 6 volumes on the finest paper, with ornaments and initial letters engraven on copper." So he's promising people what they would get in return. This is the Iliad. Just a couple decades later, Mozart needed to create 3 new concertos. He needed to fund them. And he says, quote, "They will be available at the beginning of April to those who have subscribed for them, beautifully copied and supervised by the composer himself." Mozart knew how to sell. His project was also successfully funded. Twain and Whitman and all sorts of artists throughout the centuries have made things in these similar ways, by appealing to their peers, by sharing an idea, and seeing what other people thought. So a lot of the ideas that we think are new are actually really old, and I think that we can take comfort in this. All of us are ultimately just trying to figure out our own path, figure out what our life is going to be. It's our individual quest, but it's a well-worn one that other people have done before. That doesn't make it any less special, but at least can bring comfort that the things that we face are things that other people have managed to survive. You know, you'll get through these things. And the world works in unpredictable ways, especially if you're open to it. My own life has a few of those examples. The way I met my co-founders for Kickstarter, my partner Perry, he first had the idea for Kickstarter 12 years ago. He was living in New Orleans and wanted to put on a concert and didn't have the money to do it, and thought if only he could ask other people what they thought. And other people could pay, but they'd only be charged if everyone else agreed it was a good idea. And this would be a way that everyone could collectively decide what to do. But he was living in New Orleans as a recording engineer, as an artist, just kind of hanging out, riding his bike around the city. He didn't really know what to do with this. And about 4 years later, he moved back to New York, where he was from, and he and I met at a restaurant where he was a waiter and I was a regular. We got to be friends, and he eventually told me about this idea. We found another friend, a guy named Charles, and the three of us started working on this thing that became Kickstarter. But none of us had any experience in doing anything. Perry was an artist and a waiter. Charles was a graphic designer. I was a rock critic at the time. These are not people who start companies generally. And it took us 4 long years to do it. And it was, it was a slog. It was a slog. But, the things that Adam mentioned, perseverance, dedication, these are the things that got us there. And even how I got to New York. I grew up in Virginia, on a farm in Virginia, about a half hour from nowhere. And I went to college there in Virginia and graduated 13 years ago, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was hanging out in town afterwards. I was basically becoming a townie. And then my best friend from high school called me up and said, hey, me and 5 other guys just got a house in New York, in Coney Island. Would you like to move in with us? By the way, you need to be here in 48 hours. And it was one of those things where it was such a sudden thing, you didn't even have time to think it through. And I remember I called my mom, and she encouraged me to do it, which shocked me. And I didn't have any job prospects. I didn't have any savings. I've been in New York a couple times, but I didn't really know all that much. But I decided, all right, I'll do it. That day I went and rented a U-Haul, and 2 days later I was a new New Yorker, completely terrified, but making what was ultimately the best decision of my life. The second month I was in New York, I got a job. It was rewriting news stories and little short blurbs like we read out on the radio. I got paid terribly. It was not what I thought being a writer would be. My dream was always to be a writer. But I learned a lot. I learned about deadlines. I learned how to recognize what's important. I learned how to work within this grander machine and finding a way to express myself through it. And it's honestly one of the best educations I ever got. And so I kept writing on the side, writing for myself and just sending things to websites and stuff like that. And finally, a piece I sent unsolicited to the Village Voice, they accepted it. They told me they'd pay $75 to me to run it, and they would print it. And it was amazing. It was one of the most amazing moments of my life. I was a rock critic. I had made it. Now, I realized that outing myself as a rock critic in this room could be a dicey thing. Musicians and the music industry of the future don't tend to like rock critics very much, and understandably so. You put years into honing your skills, and you express those things through a song that you might spend months writing, and then a critic might come along and tear it down in the matter of a few minutes. And the level of effort is uneven. You put so much of yourself into this thing, and I only have to put this much into it, and I totally get it. But I wanted to encourage you to brace critics. This week I was reading Harry Houdini's his memoir, and he had this great line. He says, when an artist, even a musician, is corrected by a critic, he should not be dismayed or look upon it as wasted. He should consider it a friendly favor. Imagine having a great big newspaper man watch the performance and then write a criticism free of charge. Why, it's a wonderfully beneficial thing. And as a person, as an artist, it's your job to learn and to grow. And the friction of criticism is one of the best ways to do that. It hones your ear. It lets you see what's good about what you do. If you're open to it, if you're open to criticism, you will get better. You also have to continue to hone your taste. One of the hardest things is distinguishing the differences between taste and talent. And coming from a school where you're being formally trained in music, I think you guys are obviously very talented, and it's easy to focus on that part of it. But ultimately, what's going to distinguish you is your taste, your perspective. What it is that you have to say, what it is that you think is important. Other people can read music and play things with the same level of proficiency, but your vision is distinctly yours. And that's something you really have to practice and focus on. There's a great example. There's this painter, Gerard Richter. He's an abstract painter, very, very famous, very prominent. And he's formally trained. He has amazing abilities. A lot of his paintings start with him painting something that's photorealistic, looks exactly like a photo. He spends days or weeks doing this. But that's just the first part of the painting. Once he has that down, then he goes in and he mutilates it. And he blurs it, and he stretches it, and he distorts it. And he turns this perfect photorealistic image into something that is barely recognizable. It's just the suggestion of an image. And so he has that technical skill, but he also has this point of view, this thing he's trying to express. It's those two things coming together. And if you can achieve that, then you'll find great, great success. So don't let your talent drown out your taste. It's what defines you. It's your perspective. Think about what it is you have to say and how it is that you want to say it. Think about it all the time. It's going to take a lifetime to learn that. And that process of getting to know yourself, of self-understanding, that's the whole deal. That's what life is. I can only offer encouragement that you do that because I'm still in the middle of doing that too. And I hope that I get to spend my whole life doing that, trying to learn who it is that I am. But that's the real work of life. The way I always imagine this in my head is I picture that inside of me there's this little bean. And this is my true self. This is who I was born as. These are the genes and the DNA, the pieces of my family, the flotsam and jetsam of the universe coming together, and that's who I am. And that little part of me it's vulnerable, it's fragile. There's no protective covering, it's just a little bean, it's just hanging out there. And that first time, maybe when you're 5 or 6 and the world disappoints you or you disappoint someone else, you get hurt, it really stings right there, right at your true self. And you respond by draping a little protective covering over it. It's a natural thing to do. It's the way you have to survive. And life keeps giving us opportunities to do that. There's a lot of them in adolescence. There's a lot of them through the relationships we have, the hard things that we face, the times the world disappoints us or we feel shame of something that we've done. And these things continue to build up and build up and build up. And the hard part is that eventually it's hard to recognize what parts of that are you and what parts of those are the calluses that you've responded to the world. And being able to be in touch with that little thing is hard, but it's worth all the energy. Knowing that part of you is the whole game. You have to know it and understand it, and you have to share it with others. Let other people see who you really are. You may get hurt as a result. You may make yourself more vulnerable, but the reward of being able to live your life openly and without fear are completely worth it. Take that chance. This is the place that your love comes from. It's the place that your art comes from. This is the place that defines who you are. Live your life with an open heart and full of curiosity and love, and you will know these things, and the world will present itself to you as the amazing adventure that it is, and you're going to be so good at it. Thanks so much for listening, and congratulations to all of you, the class of 2013.